This is Travis Wayne Goodsoul. I should be going to bed, but I had just finished watching Blue Bloods Season 4, Episode 15. This was uh, involving a psychiatrist who was supposed to have an expert opinion, which, again, that's a video in and of itself about psychiatry and being used in a court of law where facts and evidences are supposed to be used, but yet they use psychiatrists who give opinions rather than facts and evidence. Anyway, then it also involved kidnapping of girls from a school, and so that was heart-wrenching at the end. But that's not what I wanted the video to be about here either, because as most of you know, coming to my channel, watching my videos, you're interested in my views on Mormonism and how corrupt, evil, and bad they are, and blah blah blah. And then there are of course those that want to put a thumbs down and bully me, troll me as it's called with the social media thing that they do. And so no, the issue I wanted to bring out was a personal one. I'm going to tell you my story because the other part of the story in Blue Bloods was about Erin. She's the main daughter of the family. She's the one who pursued being a lawyer rather than a police officer like the boys did. And she has a daughter, and she had divorced her husband, but Erin was a wild child as a kid, and now as an adult, it's like she's forgotten her past, or she doesn't want to bring it up, and thinks that now she's an adult, so she's a better person. And so she projects onto her daughter about who she was as her age, her daughter's age. And the funny thing is that her daughter is nothing like her mother. Her daughter is the good girl. And so it's kind of funny for that, but of course that brings up my own childhood memories and why I am the black sheep of the family, as they believe. I have a different view of it, but nobody cares about my view. And so growing up, my parents were controlling and domineering. They were both hardcore Mormons. My dad's family, both from pioneer stock. And my mom's family, her mother, my grandma, was from pioneer stock, and my grandfather, her father, was not. My great grandfather was converted to the church, and so he was the first generation born into the church. My grandfather was, and so yeah, it's a pretty hardcore Mormon background and upbringing, and so they were very strict to myself being the oldest and the other kids. Though I think my siblings, my brother and my sisters, owe me a lot of thanks, because I took the brunt of their experimentation on how to raise kids. And so by the time my brother came around, and then my sisters, they gave up trying. So, but yeah, I mean, both my mom and my dad served missions. That's how hardcore they were. Though my mom was Republican, my dad was Democrat, but my mom somehow got him converted to the dark side. And no, I am not Democrat. I am neither party. I am no party. We're not supposed to have parties. Party government is socialized or socialist republic. Communism. USSR. What do you think the S and R are at the end? Look it up. Yeah, the McCarthy scare was not really wrong. It was just misplaced. He was looking elsewhere when it was right there in front of him in the halls of Congress. But anyway, so how did my parents get to be so abusive in a religion that has a theology of Lucifer being an abusive character who took away agency as his plan of salvation? If you're Mormon and you're listening to this and you're going, what? I don't understand. Lucifer, how is he wanting a plan of salvation? You should know this. Come on. So, yes, in Mormon theology, Lucifer had a plan to save everybody in the highest degree of the celestial kingdom. And he was rejected because his plan involved forcing everybody to be obedient, so that therefore nobody would violate the law and therefore be unclean in the celestial kingdom, because no unclean thing can dwell in the presence of God. And so that's his great marvelous plan, was forcing everybody to be obedient and thus be clean that way. And so it blows my mind coming here to Utah and watching parent after parent after parent follow the example of what my parents have been doing. And that's exactly what Lucifer's plan was: control and force their children into compliance. And this is my house, and in my house you'll do what I tell you. And if you don't like it, you can leave. I'm kicking you to the streets. Back in 2008, my parents were following the examples of our neighbors and those in Utah at the time, because there was a big push to kick kids to the curb. Get them out of the house. They're bums. And my parents, growing up, my dad, he thought I was a bum. He would come home, he would see me sitting watching TV, as I did for 8 to 10 hours a day. But in my, let's see, it was junior year, I had a job. I had 2 jobs, actually. I was delivering pizza for Rusty's. It was right across the street from Domino's, and so we were the competition, and have lots of stories about that. And became very good at Double Dragon. I was able to do it on 1 quarter, so that was cool. Yeah, back in our days, kids, we had arcade games. So we didn't have computer games through apps. We had these big machines with joysticks. And yeah, good times. And so yeah, my dad thought I was a worthless bum when I had 2 jobs at the time. The other job was working for Allied Van Lines, which my basketball coach worked at. They needed somebody to deliver claim forms to people who had just moved into the new subdivisions in Southern California, It was a big boom town back then, and people needed the claim forms just in case something broke during the move. And so I got to tour Southern California with that job, so that was cool. I learned that you can't have your window down and your arm hanging on the window of the car with the sun directly shining on it, because you get an uneven tan. So yeah, good times. Yeah, my dad came out to the car one morning as I was heading out to work, just yelling and screaming at me, using curse words. First time in my life I heard my dad cursing, and he was cursing at his kid, me. And so, yeah, that was a great father moment, something to be proud of. And I didn't bother to tell him I'm going to work. He didn't need to know. I wasn't going to tell him. The reason why is because, when he does eventually find out that I was working, it'll be that bigger of a shame for him. So, if people are going to prejudge you, they deserve to be put in their place. So, yeah, I just said, I'm out of here. And I took off and went to work. And so, yeah, it was passed through the grapevine at school that they found out that I worked at a pizza place. And it wasn't until I had to do my taxes that he found out that I also had the job working at Allied Van Lines. So, yeah, always a good moment, especially when he thought I was a bum, and so therefore, I was out of shape, as he thought. And then when he came around the corner into the kitchen, we had a pantry in the middle between the family room and the dining room and the kitchen, and whatever. So he came around the corner. I was going into the kitchen, and he hit me. My dad hit me in my stomach coming around the corner. He just saw me and hit me as a, reflex, or thinking he was gonna catch me off guard and expose me as having a poor stomach and being out of shape. The only problem is that I had been taking weights in school that year, and instead of doing bench presses, I was doing sit-ups, because Rocky IV had come out recently, and that was where he was doing the no back sit-ups, as we called it in high school, where you don't have a back bench to lay down on, or the floor to lay down on. You actually inverted your body, and so I was doing those during the class time. And Mason, my friend, he was also in the class, and he assisted by taking a 50-pound weight and bashing it against my abs when I went back. So I go back, go up, go back, just like punching the meat. That's exactly what he was referring to, was that scene from Rocky where he would hit the slabs of meat to toughen up, and just like meat tenderizing. But yeah, I surprised myself that I was actually that strong, so it was cool. But I was more distracted by the expression on my dad's face of extreme shock and horror. Good times. My dad took debate. he was a debater in school. And along comes a son who didn't take debate, who's able to outsmart his dad every single time. Good times. And so, yeah, my parents were constantly assuming the worst of me. And they projected onto me their false accusations over and over and over again. And so, yes, I rebelled. I went to my room and shut the door and cranked up the tunes on the radio and shut them out of my life. And they didn't understand. That just, when I would rebel and go to my room, they thought that confirmed that they were right. They never got it. They never understood. And so when I was getting married, again, they were thinking the worst. And then even my uncle, who decided to turn gay, which caused my parents to add that I must be gay to their preconceived false accusations. And yeah, and so it blew their mind. You know, my dad came in with a picture of Farrah Fawcett, shoving it in my face. Don't you think she's beautiful? No. Farrah Fawcett was in her 30s at the time. She was for my dad's era. And so I had other women I had crushes on who were more my age. But again, I wasn't going to tell him. And so he just assumes, oh, yeah, my son's gay. He doesn't like Farrah Fawcett. Man. And so, yeah. So when I dated Cynthia for the prom, my parents were shocked, and I just wanted to get out of the house and run away to the prom. But they all wanted to see who this woman is that I would be attracted to, rather than being gay as they thought I was. And so yeah, then I go off and I get married to a girl at Rick's. And again, they're like, oh man, he doesn't know what he's doing. He's not mature enough. He's not old enough. He's not wise enough to get involved in a relationship. It's going to fail and blah, blah, blah. And so when my Mormon wife was doing the same thing my parents were doing, making false accusations, you know, that I feel you don't love me. You know, when you make false accusations, you have no evidence for it, just feelings, nothing more than feelings. You are in the wrong. And so, yeah, if I would come home from school after having gone to an institute class, my wife was upset. Why didn't you come home straight after school? I don't want you going to institute anymore. Okay. And so, yeah. And so the real reason why she wanted me to come home is so that she can go off all dressed up fancy as if she were going to church with the makeup and all that stuff. And then she wouldn't come home until midnight. And then as she saw that I was waiting up for her, she stayed until 1 or 2 in the morning. And the kids, who were 3 and 2, or, well, 3 and 1, and you know, they eventually recognized, well, this is what mommy does. And so, yeah, And she was trying to project onto me what she was doing bad herself. Just like Aaron was with her daughter Nikki in Blue Bloods. And so when we moved here to Utah, after I graduated, she got violent with me one night and went crying upstairs to my parents, and my parents said, "We knew Travis was bad. We knew this would happen." It was her. She slammed the door on the kids and I. But my parents, they assumed that it was me. And even after she had confessed later, after they booted me to the street, that it was her and not me, my parents didn't care. They already had their preconceived notion, and they were secure in their actions towards me. These are Mormons, people. These are Mormons who believe that Lucifer's plan of happiness is to put everybody into bondage and force compliance, take away agency. And so, yeah, it boggles the mind. But that was why I rebelled and tried as best as I could to get away. You know, that's why I went off to college, went off to the mission, went off to Canada. I didn't want to be with my family anymore. I wanted nothing to do with them. And so, yeah, that's what happens when you keep telling people of what you are telling them they are, making false accusations, you know, from preconceived belief systems, projections, and whatever. And, you know, there are those who fall for it and believe you and then become who you say they are. And in police work, that's exactly what they need to do in order to get an arrest and a conviction. The prosecutor has to tell the jury. No, they never go to jury anymore, here in Utah especially. But if they were to go to jury, you know, you see it on the TV shows, all the court shows. Your Honor, the defendant is a criminal. He's a loser. He's a bum. He needs to be punished to the full extent of the law. And the jury, if they're, you know, it's a matter of who they're going to believe. You know, the whole concept of facts and evidence no longer applies in the courtrooms anymore. And psychiatrists reign supreme with their opinions. So, yeah. So I just thought I'd share that with you. I'll post it tomorrow morning. And so, yeah, I mean, Mormons, come on. Stop. You know, you have church leaders who are projecting on the members. You know, you have the leaders of the church constantly telling people, you guys are bad, you are wicked, you are evil. You need to repent, you need to comply, you need to be obedient. And, you know, and Mormons, I keep telling you, you've been through the temple. Do you know what that means? You know, not just baptized, but you've been through the temple. You know, you've been baptized, you get the sacrament every week, and then you've gone through the temple. And you're listening to your church leaders and you're believing them when they tell you you're evil? You know, if you're my age, you remember that if you actually are evil after getting your temple endowments, you know what you're supposed to do, right? So that's what the church leaders are telling you. They're telling you you need to kill yourself. Remember the whole, this is the knife. And so it's just horrifying. You know, anointed. What does anoint mean in Greek? So when you are anointed, you become the anointed one. What is that in Greek? Do I need to spell it out for you? Are you incapable of Googling it? It means you are good. And I keep having to tell Mormons this, who are all discouraged because they're giving in and believing the leaders. You know, I have to tell them, remember when you said that you got inspiration? If you're getting inspiration, you're good. Of course, you got to produce the fruit. You can't just have inspiration alone. Inspiration without works is dead. And so, yeah. And so, I am just like Nikki. I rebelled, and I am not who my parents think I am. My mom was given my email from somebody who found it on my Facebook account, a family member on my Facebook account. And I've never responded through email, but I get a letter from her. And she always uses my dad's email. She doesn't have her own. And so, yeah, yesterday I was told that my Aunt Evelyn died on Christmas. She had Alzheimer's, like my grandmother, who died of Alzheimer's. So I know the beginning stages of Alzheimer's to the end thereof. And so, yeah, I'm a little pissed with psychiatrists because they're supposed to look for causes, physical evidence of a cause, but they don't even bother to look. They just judge the outward appearance and prescribe drugs to change behavior. And so, yeah, it pisses me off. But I do not comply with my parents and how they think that I'm supposed to be. I will never become who they want me to be. It will not happen. I will not comply. And I will continue to rebel. But I'm long gone from them. But my mom, she'll email me and reveal that she still believes that I'm the bad person. Now she changes it now. Now she thinks that I'm a crazy person because of what has happened to me by the state of Utah. Because the government, what they do is they don't tell you over and over again, because they don't live with you, they don't reside with you. And so it's a situation where if they want you to be somebody who they want you to be, they just throw you in jail. And they don't take you to trial. And if you don't plead guilty, in other words, comply with what they're telling you you are, without a trial to find yourself innocent, then they have this little place that used to be the asylum here in Utah. It still is. They just call it a hospital now. Utah State Hospital. Oh, it's a hospital. They help people. There's real doctors there, right? No. Psychiatrists. It's not a hospital. It's a fake name. And so, yeah, if you don't comply to the government, they destroy your life. They make you who they want you to be, who they are accusing you of falsely. Because it is false. You've never gone to trial. You've not been convicted. You've not been sentenced. They force you to either plead guilty or you go to the hospital as not competent to go to trial. You have no choice. Your agency is gone. And we call that, in government speak, your rights are gone. So, yeah, that's Mormons for you. It's in the church, and it's in the family units, and it's in the government. It's a widespread epidemic, and nobody's standing up to stop them because they're powerful. They're in positions of authority that can destroy your life with just a little blink of the eye and an order to the cops to lock you up. So, yeah. There's my life story. Does it apply to you? It should. You just got to recognize it. The funny thing is that the people who do this to others, to me, my parents, they don't see it. They don't see that they are in the wrong. They don't see themselves as taking away my agency, taking away my rights. The government, they don't see it. They don't care. The church, they don't see it. They speak for God. Whatever they say is God. Just like the government. You voted for us, so we're going to tell you what to do. That's what you voted for me for. So I would tell you what to do. That Utah legislatures have been interviewed and say that. You know? So, yeah. And then parents. We're your parents. We're supposed to control you for the rest of your life. That's the parents' responsibility. My mom said that. So, yeah. I don't want this to go too long. I need to go to bed. So...